Welcome back to another episode of Divine Journey 2. In the last episode, we got access to our nightmare bed here, and that got us access to the Vethia dimension, where we had to go through pretty much vanilla style progression once again. And all that progression led up to us getting the Ender chest, which allowed us to transport the soul vials back to our base. And in between episodes, I made a powered spawner for the twins using that soul vial. And I let the spawner run for a bit, so we now have 1,700 stacks of clean pearls. So the plan for today is to finish out the witchery chapter here. And then in chapter 22, we're actually going to get into a bit of LightningCraft today. So yeah. So first up, we're going to have to spawn in Lord Baphomet and get Cassidius for the next quest. And to spawn him, it's the Athene, 1 Demon Heart, a Pentacle, Bottled Hellfire, Flying Ointment, Liquid Witchcraft, Monocorn, and Sanguine Cloth. And then we have to sacrifice a sheep again. Next up, we're going to need a sigil table, which is an infusion craft with a advanced crafting table, a witch's oven, sigil of the Phantom Bridge, a block of cold iron, and a sigil of suppression. And using our sigil table, we can make a sigil of purity. And if we combine that pendant with some bottled hellfire, demonic elixir, traveler's tenacity, fiery unguent, and 2 runes of wrath, we can make our flame devourer pendant. Alright, I've made up the brazier here, which was just another infusion recipe. We can get on to making our ignition. And to do that, we're going to first have to fill a tag lock with our own juices by shift right clicking on a bed we've slept in. There we go. We come to our brazier and throw the tag lock, fiery unguent, hellbore, bottled hellfire, and a piece of charcoal on. Now be able to get our ignition. Alright, and if we combine our ignition with some dungeon tokens, impetus jewel, lightning grenade, and clean pearls, we can make our lightning charges. Alright, and the first LightningCraft item we're going to make is the golden club, which takes some lightning charges, scepter of thunder, some cold iron ingots, and some blocks of gold. Next up, we're going to have to make some electricium, which is a gold ingot, an iron ingot, and a diamond, and we have to strike it with the golden club. Next up, we're going to have to make some air terminals, and we're going to start off with the iron one. Then we have to upgrade it to the steel one, then lead, then tin, aluminum, gold, and finally copper. To actually store our lightning energy, we can make this lightning energy cell here, which stores 1000 LE. Now we need a couple thunderstone, which is some scorn bricks, electricium, and an erythral slate. We get 16 per. And after a bit of gathering resources, our next block is the lightning infusion table, which will actually allow us to make our electricium a lot easier. Alright, I've gone ahead and set up the Bewitchment Heart automation, and I just made a spawner that spawns witches in, and I have a mechanical user here that kills the witches with the a theme, and I put Unbreaking, Mending, Sharpness, and Looting on it. And then to repair it, I have a advanced item filter here, and it's set to 25% damaged or more. So once the durability goes down 25%, it'll go into the pressurized fluid tank here and get repaired. And it's just a repeating cycle, and it'll never break. And then I just have an alloy smelter here, and there's an interface supplying the regular hearts and demon will crystals. And I farmed up 10 demon hearts to start off this process. So this is basically just a duplication recipe. You get 10 per every time, 20 per, but 10 gets used for the recipe. So you get a surplus of 10 every time. And then I just have this alloy smelter on push-pull. So it pushes the hearts into the drawer, and then it pulls back 10, and pretty much it's just an infinite cycle. Alright, before we progress more into LightningCraft, I took the time to set up the 16 or 17 different Botania runes, and pretty much there's a mechanical user here with use item on block for all the wands of the forest. And then for the actual inserting of items, there is a interface here with the various pattern, all these 17 different ones. Each interface has its own pattern, and they're set on blocking mode. And they go into this mechanical user here with activate block with item, which just sticks all the items onto the runic altar there. And then when the craft completes, it just goes into this adjustable storage unit here from Ender Utilities. And I have it set to hold 17 stacks, since there's 17 different runes, and they each hold 16 runes worth in each slot. And the way I have this little crafting thing set up here is these three interfaces are on the main network, and they just supply all the input items needed for the various runes. They go into this buffer crate here, and then there's a storage bus which reads the contents of this crate here. And these two interfaces here have crafting cards in them and runes in here. So if one of these slots were to empty, for example, like the Rune of Envy, the A system will sense that and start crafting the rune, as you can probably hear. And if there were to be space in this adjustable storage unit, the runes would get extracted from these interfaces and go into this storage unit here, and the storage bus would be read by our main network. And if there's no space in there, they'll just sit in this interface and it won't actually craft anything, which is good because you don't want to waste resources. And I had to do it this funky way because if I put a storage bus for the subnet on this storage unit here, and I left this on both extract and insert, it would keep pulling the runes from this storage unit and putting them back in. It would keep repeating itself, and it wouldn't actually start another craft, which was annoying. So this way, I just have this set on insert only, which means this subnet here can't actually extract anything. So it'll have to go through the entire crafting step if it wants to make like a tier 3 rune, for example, which is kind of annoying, but hey, it's okay. And the storage bus is on extract only, just so it doesn't put the finished runes back in here. But yeah, that's basically our automated Botania runes. Alright, I've added to our distillery setup, so now have 3 more distilleries, one for oil of Virtuoil, one for Traveler's Tenacity, and one for Demonic Elixir here. And I have these two limited to both 19 just to save on some resources. And how I have that set up is these conduits from the interfaces here are on active without signal. And then I have the redstone total upgrade in those drawers up there. And I get the signal in that conduit on the pink channel, and then it gets outputted into this relay here, and I have it on a threshold of greater than or equal to 5. So when this has 19 items or more, it'll emit a signal. And well, actually, it'll always emit a signal, but when it has 19 or more items, the signal that this drawer emits will be 5, obviously. So it'll then output to this separate conduit and basically stop items from getting extracted and put into the distillery. I've also gone ahead and automated our lightning infusion table, the gathering of lightning energy. And how I have this set up is there's a fluid interface here supplying liquid XP that goes into the fluid tank. And I have a mechanical user here with a timer set to 10 seconds. And if I put the golden club in, every 10 seconds, it'll obviously right click it and allow lightning energy to be stored into this cell here. And then when this gets damaged, it'll just get extracted and put into the fluid tank. Now that we have our demonic elixir automated, we can make our 7 remaining demon stones for the quest. Another thing we need is Skyfather ingots, which take these Skythern chunks and some Thunderstone. Alright, I made some auto-crafting recipes for the remaining quests that we needed to unlock the LightningCraft Infusion multi-block. And for this multi-block, we need the machine blueprint, 1 machine controller, 9 demon stone, 12 machine casing, 1 small item input, 1 item output, and finally 1 huge energy input hatch. I actually lied. The last 3 items we need are the air terminal, the advanced lighting cell, and the lightning infusion table. Progress any further into LightningCraft, we're going to have to travel to our next dimension, which is the underworld. And to do that, we're going to have to make the underworld charge, which is an infusion recipe of inverted potentia, demon stone, condensed diabolist V crystal, and condensed potentia V crystal. And to set up the portal to the underworld, it's in the same shape as a nether portal, just made out of demon stone instead of obsidian. And yeah, I guess it's time to light it up. Now that we're in the underworld, we're going to have to collect a few blocks, mainly the underworld lanterns, some corrupt stone, and some undersand. We're also going to have to get a few different mob drops, mainly the skeleton guards for the guards' bones, and some under creeps for some under powder. And the quest book recommends Howard spawning both of them, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Next up, we need some undermeld, which is an alloy smelter recipe of corrupt stone, undersand, and underworld lanterns. And using those undermelds with some electricium plates and some simple powered furnaces, we can make our 8 lightning furnaces. And after a bit of resource gathering, we can make our lightning crusher. Right, and I set up a little semi-automation for making guards bone meal. And it's just an export bus exporting the guards bones into the lightning crusher. Gets crushed down with a little light energy, so I had to reset up this little system here. And then out of the bottom, it gets extracted and into the drawer, which has a storage bus on it. And we needed the bone meal for the empowered underpower, since it takes the bone meal, some regular underpower powder, and some electricium dust. And using that empowered underpower, we can make some mystic ingots. And the final ingot before we can get into extreme reactors is the mystical iron ingot. And we can now craft it. Coming back to the LightningCraft infusion multi-block for a second, if we look at the upgrades pane down here, there are 3 different upgrades we can do. We can either do the Mystic Lightning Cell, which will allow it to go twice as fast, the RF Lightning Generator, which will allow it to go 5 times as fast, and the LE Receiver Tier 3, which will have the energy cost. If we want to make our ensorcelled cores for the Mystic Lightning Cell, we're actually going to have to change out the Skyfather Air Terminal for the LE Receiver, since we can't make the next tier of energy input hatch, as that's very far down the line from where we currently are. And to actually make this, it takes 50k, but we can only insert 30k at the moment. So if we replace this, it should only cost 25k, hopefully. There we go. And the Mystic Energy Cell replaces the Advanced Lightning Cell we have down here. We can now finally get started in Extreme Reactors. So the first thing we're going to make is some reactor casing. Next up, we're going to make the flux tap, which will allow us to actually pull energy from the reactor. But to do that, we're going to have to make some cryo-stabilized flux ducts, and that takes fluxed armor plating, some alpha glass, a resonant flux duct, a sodium ingot, and a potentious sphere. And this is just the empty version. To actually make it into the useful version, we have to coat it in some gelid cryothium. So we just have to combine the flux duct with some flux electron blocks and some casing to get our redstone flux power tap. Next up, we're going to make 2 access ports to allow us to insert and export items from the reactor. Now we're going to need some control rods, as well as a couple fuel rods. And the final thing we need is the actual controller. Alright, I've gone ahead and set up our reactor here. It's just a simple 5x5x5. And reactors in this pack are actually buffed, so they generate a lot more energy. So just with this measly little 5x5, we're generating 1.4 million RF a tick. Yeah, our fuel burn-up rate is almost 1 millibucket per tick. So I've let this run for a couple hours, and we have about 10 sacks of cyanite. And the way I set up the control rods, it's just they're just in a circle pretty much. And then in the center is the power tap, and these are just set to 0%. And I don't really care about wasting power right now. The main point is that we're getting cyanite, which eventually we're going to get plutonium for. That's going to allow us to progress further. And the reason we need the plutonium is for this growth infusion liquid here. And to make it, it's a 3-step little process. First step being water combined with salt and ice to make the regular cloud liquid. That goes into the second one, or cloud seed rather. Then that gets combined with some electrum blend to make the concentrated cloud seed. And then that goes into the third one to make the growth infusion liquid. And if we combine that with some sticks, that's actually how we get crop sticks. So we can now unlock AgriCraft. Alright, I think I'm going to end this episode here. Next episode, we'll get into a little astro sorcery and once we progress a little on that, that'll actually unlock the clippers and the seed analyzer from AgriCraft. So yeah, thanks for watching.